Hi, Mr. Novak here. In the last few videos, we looked at the key features of a quadratic or parabola equation, and we used our calculator to be able to determine those features using a calculator page or using the graph page to actually draw them. Now we have to do it manually. And so the first exercise is the null factor law. And basically, the reason why we have the null factor law is that we want to find where it cuts the x-axis. So let's just highlight that for you. Uh, there we go. And let's get the highlighter. And so remember, to find where it cuts the x, where the x-intercepts are, we're obviously on the y-axis. And remember, horizontal lines, they are y equals, and this is in cases y equals 0. And that's what we'll be doing. We're solving for when the quadratic equation equals to 0. And we call that the null factor law. The null factor law being, we have the y equals 0, so there's the y equals 0, there's our null. And the factor law is because when we factorize the quadratic formula, we usually have two factors and they are multiplied together. And for it to be equal to 0, only one of those factors, either A or B, or can be both, need to be equal to 0. So that's what we're working on. Of course, these notes you're more than welcome to write down in your summary book, but they're straight from the textbook. Now, before we go any further, later on we'll actually find out ways of determining how many x-intercepts. Remember, we could have both A or B equal to 0. A or B equal to 0, so we'll have two x-intercepts. Or both of them are at the same time equal to 0. But there will be cases where it's neither. That's the case of where there's no solution. So what we're going to do today is look at the most simplest of all, where the equation's already factorized. So we just simply have to determine for what values of x will it be equal to 0. And we'll come up with some quick rules as well. So I'll just switch to the other pen, and here we go. Um, So let's have a look at the first one. So we have the equation already in factorized form. So in other words, we have the first expression, all right, which is x plus 3, and the other second expression. So they're the two factors. Remember, we placed them in brackets because all of that needs to be multiplied by the other one. And of course, applying them is equal to 0, so we can find the x-intercept. So what we're saying is one of these must equal to 0. So we'll let either x plus 3 equal to 0 or x minus 5 equal to 0. Now, from earlier work, we know that we can easily get x by itself. In this case, subtract 3 from both sides. X equals minus 3. And here we have to add 5 to both sides, and x equals positive 5. So we can say that the 2x that has x-intercepts are at x equals negative 3 or positive 5. We could write it in the curly bracket format, which is negative 3 comma 5. Or we could write them as coordinates. Remember, minus 3 comma 0, and y equals 0, we'll find the x-intercepts. So that's the null factor applied to when they are already factorized. Okay, let's go to the second one, which is x brackets 2x minus 7 equals 0. So there's your null factor law. Null. And now we need to know that one of these factors, either x equals to 0 or 2x minus 7 equals to 0. Well, this one's quite straightforward, so beware of that. It's a very simple one. Well, this one we need to do two steps. First of all, add 7 to both sides. We have 2x equals positive 7 divided by 2, and we end up with 3 and x equals 3.5. So we have the x-intercepts either at 0, 3.5, oops, curly brackets, or we could write them as coordinates of points. So this one is 0, 0 and 3.5, 0. So that's how we do this very simple ones when they're all factorized. In actual fact, some of you may have noticed that there's a shortcut. I'll pause for a moment, or you want to pause for a moment while you consider that. All right, so did you see what the pattern is? Let's have a look at this one again. So we had x equals, let's get that pen going again. X equals -3 and x equals +5. And you may exactly see what that is. It's just simply the opposite. So when you have in the form of 1x plus a and 1x plus b, x is equal to either the opposite of the a or the opposite of b. Now, and go back and review of that. So you'll find as long as it's got 1x, okay? However, when we look at this one here, we have x brackets 2x minus 7. Remember here, always remember that here x equals 0 because we don't have an a or b. And here's the interesting one. The x for this one is, just like here, the opposite of -7 is +7, but we need to divide it by 2, and that gives us our positive 3.5. So in this case, it's x equals the opposite sign of b on a. In other words, if I say that that's ax plus b, you just say the negative of b over a. See if that works for you. Just remember that the opposite and divide by the coefficient in front of the x. And that's today's lesson. Only questions 2 and 3. So they'll be really easy for you to do. Remember, when it's in that simple form, just the opposite. And when they've got ax plus b, the opposite of b, and divided by a. And hopefully that's understood. Also, go and have a look at the other video which demonstrates that same thing, but not with the shortcuts. Have a good day.